Hello, this is Cristal Fischetti. I am here again to do another video. I'm just going to settle in a little bit before I properly begin. And yeah, so I got the idea or the message to talk about what it is to be real and what that means. So I've got some notes here. I've literally just blotted them down. What is it to be real? Like, what does it mean to be authentic? What does it mean to actually be an authentic person in this very superficial, Instagrammable, Facebooky, world? So there's a few things. I'm just going to point them out first, and then I'm going to go into them in a little bit more detail. So what is it to be real? So number one, family. Number two, purpose or job. Number three, people, places, events or things. Number five, three, four, clothes or dress. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, interests and hobbies. 6, makeup products. And 7, holidays and retreats. So what that means is, I'm just gonna I can just see a little flick of curl going out the way there. It's a rebel. So what these mean is it's basically being real is not about people pleasing. You can't go and just do something because someone else wants you to do it. You've really got to be strong enough and be vulnerable enough to live and sit and stand in your integrity and go no. And no is a final statement, by the way. And that includes upsetting a few people too along the way. That includes upsetting maybe family. That includes maybe friends too. But first of all, it's really about you. It's about how long have you denied yourself being yourself? It's when you're a kid, you're like, I want to be a dancer, I want to be a footballer, I want to do this, and that was the only thing that you were doing. You were just so obsessed by that was your purpose. And kids just know how to just be themselves when they're doing what they want to do, and they're not really trying to impress. I guess they're trying to impress their parents in a way. Afterwards, the programming begins. In terms of the human programming begins around 5 and 6 or 7 or 8 years old, where you start to you want to impress your family, say oh, look at these somersaults that I'm doing and these headstands, but actually there's still so much innocence within the human growing up at that age group, that they really are just doing what they want to do, and it's purely because of pure joy. They're doing it because they enjoy doing it, and they don't understand what it means to be unapologetic. They're just doing it because they love it, and they're so in the moment. And I think that when we grow older, we become so concerned about what other people think, and how we're going to be accepted, or if we're going to be rejected or not. And actually, you can't live your life like that. I mean, you can, of course. I mean, we all have free will, but surely it's just a waste of a life if you're just trying to constantly appease people, and you're trying to constantly you just want people to just constantly accept you, and that's just that. Really, what that is, it's codependency. It's codependency. So what? You have no value unless the other person doesn't value your kind of ways of doing things. That's, I was gonna say, that's just bollocks. Just why live your life like that? There's just no point. And that would start with the most obvious, really being number one, which is yourself, but really family. So family is the main mirror, because they are the main tribe within our outer circle, immediate outer circle. They're the ones that supposedly know us so well. They know how to trigger us. They know how to, push our buttons and blah, blah, blah. And they know the patterns that have been reoccurring and occurring, the arguments that you have had with family, and they just know how that's going to resolve. And actually, the best thing to do is actually to cut the karmic patterns, is to cut the patterns that have been occurring within those family members, within those family dynamics. And what happens is that once we actually start detaching from those patterns, we get a sense of, it's almost like pain, because we kind of unplug ourselves from that system, that we kind of lose a little bit of our identity, and that can freak us out a bit. And what happens is that if we're not strong enough in the sense of being vulnerable to explore what it means to be ourselves without having to have the approval from other people, from family members, we, if we don't do that, then we may be tempted to go back into those family patterns again, back into those negative cycles of arguments and etc., etc. So we don't explore our own personal, I like to call it, hero's journey. And by the way, Joseph Campbell, he's fantastic, absolutely fantastic writer, and he essentially created the blueprint of what it is to be a superhero or a hero. And it's you just Google Joseph Campbell, the hero's journey, and that will kind of give you an example of what it is to begin on the quest of self-discovery. Essentially, that's what it is. So the next point is purpose and job. So let's say we've detached from those family dynamics. That could take those family dynamics in terms of those family dynamic negative cyclical patterns. Say we've done that. That can take a long time, however you measure time. That could be in a few months of huge purging and change, or it could take a few years. It's up to you. It's up to you, and it's also up to what your soul contracts are with yourself and your family in this third dimension. I won't get into all of the soul contracts yet, but maybe I'll talk about that in another video, along with the UFO video thing that I will promise to send out. So purpose and job. So say you're in a job and you're kind of like, okay, I've been doing this for a while now, maybe like 5-6 years, and I made some good mates there, I made some friends, I've got some great bonuses, I've got a free gym, I get vegetables every day at the office, I get free travel, or I do a cycle to work scheme that I'm really grateful for. But there's something about the job that's not quite in line with your interests, or not quite in line with, well, I mean, I know that, okay, you're going to say, well, I need this job because I need to pay my mortgage, or I need to pay my rent, or I need this because I need to do this, or I need this job because it gives me stability, or I need this job because it gives me fulfillment, or I need this job because my parents told me to get into this job, like say it's medicine or whatever. And again, it's the family thing, it's a family. I need this job because it helps me, pay my car monthly, payments, or I need this job because 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 ... But what about if you actually take a moment to just get off the treadmill and just chill out a little bit and just think about how you got into the job, why you got into it, maybe even write it down, or just think about if money was no object, or if I had all of the time in the world, or my favourite phrase, which I use very often, is I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. What do I not want to regret? And pretty much instantaneously, the answer will come up. And that will be your purpose. So your purpose is basically the thing that makes you feel so in touch with your authentic self, your authentic soul, what sparks joy within you. And I don't mean what sparks joy like, you know, the Japanese woman, but yeah, in a way that's her purpose, you know, is organization and, like, you know, Japanese philosophy, etc., etc. But I mean, like, what is it that really gives you joy within yourself? What wakes you up in the morning, you know? And what brightens up your day when you think about, oh, like, oh, do you know, I really wanted to. It sounds really stupid, but I really always wanted to do this, you know, or I don't really know what my purpose is, but I really love working with people, or I don't really know what my purpose is, but I just love plants so much, you know. I love flowers, I love feeling them, I love the colours, or I just love the geometry of them, the shapes. I love sacred geometry, or maybe you don't know what it's called, sacred geometry, you just call it, like, I love shapes, and I love making things with my hands, or I'm really such an amazing filer, like I'm so good at filing, and I've got amazing filing system, and everyone should use my filing system. I don't know, it sounds silly, but that's really what your purpose is. It's really not that difficult, actually. I think we've become so worried, and we think so that it's such a heavy, like, I'm seeing like a dark cloud, that we think that, oh, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what my purpose is. I'm freaking out because I don't know what my purpose is. Actually, your purpose is the thing that makes you feel good, and the thing that you're really good at. And of course, you end up training and you continue, because your purpose is, it can be a skill, but you have to constantly, you know, practice at it. You know, it's like a musician, you have to practice every single day. I'm an artist, and I practice every single day, at least most days. And if I'm not making, I'm researching. If I'm not making, I'm researching about art. I'm reading. I'm going to exhibitions, etc., etc. So that's what it is to be real. So the first two I've just spoken about is family and purpose. So being real with your family and being real with your job, your purpose. And at one point, you're going to have to make a decision. There's a fork in the road, and you have to make a decision. Look, I'm going to just moonlight with this job so that I can, you know, do something else in the thing that I really want to do, and then gently transition to it. Or you can just, like, that's it, I'm going to give my notice, I'm going to go straight into my own business, or whatever it is, you know. The third one is people, places, events, and things. So that sounds a bit vague, I think. But people can be family members, so being real with your family, but your family can also be your chosen family, you know, your friends. And so let me think of some examples. What is it to be real? So say, for example, you've got friends from school that you've known for years and years and years, and they know how you know, they've known you, you know, going out, they've known you at home, they've known you cooking, they've known you being in and out of relationships, they've known you, I don't know, whatever it is. But there's something about the dynamic of this individual, or these individuals, that no longer sparks that joy anymore. It's kind of like they've put you in this box, and so is going to react in this way because I know that he or she is going to react in this way because they've always reacted in this way. And I know that I can count on them because X, Y, and Z. And that can be a very positive thing, or it can be a detrimental to yourself and also to them too. Because if you're not really being real with your friendships and your relationships with people, you're denying their own purpose too, in a way, because if you're not being yourself with someone, and that means actually having like a proper conversation, like, okay, when was the last time that you spoke to your friend in a really vulnerable way? You're like, you know what, I'm not really sure about how you've reacted in this situation. I don't agree with it myself, but why would you react in that way? Or I don't think that's cool. Or, you know, you really screwed me over there. Or I feel that you've really screwed me over in that way. Or, you know, just actually having like a real conversation, a real vulnerable conversation. So when that happens, you're basically eliminating every single facade, every single kind of fake dynamic that you've ever had with this person, and you're actually getting deep with them. And what happens is that you're giving eye-to-eye contact, number one, really, really important. Giving eye-to-eye contact, you're having a soul-to-soul connection, and you're allowing them to speak, and you're allowing yourself to listen, and vice versa. And again, that's something that's really important, is emotional intelligence. Being able to talk to someone and listen to what they have to say is super important, you know, without judgment, at least initially without judgment. No, I'm joking, but like without judgment, and then being able to explore your emotions and your rationality, or however you see, feel, think about it, or that person within that situation. It's so important because you learn so much. So what happens is that you actually end up filtering. You end up realizing, and you end up filtering. You've got to be sort of badass about it, you know, and it's tough because you start to, again, feel like you think that you're losing your identity because you used to associate with these people, but you're actually ending up eliminating and filtering people and places. So places where you used to hang out, maybe you used to go to the same pub every single Sunday, and you just, you know what, it's a drag, I don't want to keep doing that. There's more to life than going to the pub every Sunday, for example. Or events, like going to the same events, or going to the same, you know, festival, or the same whatever it is. Or doing the same thing every single day, or every other day, or every other month, or every other year, the same kind of routine. Say, for example, you go on a holiday every single year doing the same thing, and what happens is that you're not using your muscle, you know, you're not really learning anything new. And so I say that what it means to be real is actually being completely vulnerable and allowing yourself to reprogram everything that you have learned through these situations, through people, etc., etc. And you start to realize that these things no longer serve you. And so once you realize that those things no longer serve you, you start to want the things that do. And that's pretty the long and short of it. Again, that can be really scary and emotional, and you may go into old patterns again, and you may frequent old people, and you may be doing things that you used to do that you didn't really want to do, you didn't want to do anymore, but you're doing them. And I'm talking about substance abuse, I'm talking about all kinds of toxic behaviours. But you know within yourself that something has to change and something has to give. And that starts with you. That starts with number one. The other thing I want to talk about is 1, 2, 3, 4, clothes and dress. So once you're in this journey of like, okay, like I filtered that, slaying all over the place. Once you start to do that, you also start to recognise that you want to wear certain clothes. Like, say for example, you've been wanting to wear the clothes that you've always wanted to wear. Say you've always been massively keen on having a mohawk, like being a huge punk, or you're done wearing suits. You know, like it's too tight. I just feel so restricted, and etc. etc. And there are reasons for that. You know, there are reasons why we can sometimes feel uncomfortable in certain uniforms. Again, that's also involved with the soul contracts too. It's involved with who we were in another lifetime. Say, for example, in one lifetime, I mean, like there's a lifetime, I'm sure, that I wore corsets, and and I wasn't always a woman in many of my lifetimes. But there was a lifetime where I wore corsets, and there was actually a lifetime where I was a monk, and I don't, there's certain things that I'm not really into, and that reflects in how I dress today. So um, that can also be about the colours that you wear as well. And yeah, and then so that's clothes and dress. That's pretty simple, really. The other thing is interests and hobbies. So again, it's kind of like the same thing about the event, the places, the going to the pub every whatever Sunday. Your being real is about fulfilling that void, and what that looks like to you. What sparks joy? What's the thing that you want to do when you wake up in the morning, for example? That thing. It could be bowling, it could be tennis, it could be going to a match, a football match, it could be a rugby match, it could be gardening, it could be whatever. It could be the most stupid, banal thing that some other people may think is just stupid and banal, but it really means so much to you, and that's really what it is to what it means to be real. So hobbies and interests. So, for example, it's music. I want to be a DJ. I want to do, I want to entertain people, and it can be many things. And also, by the way, it doesn't have to. Your purpose or being real doesn't mean you have to be restricted to one thing, because again, that's a societal programming that you have to just be doing one job. You got to be focused on one thing. Like, forget about that. I mean, I'm 35 and I'm looking at these kids nowadays, and they're just so multi-talented. They're doing this, X, Y, and Z. They're entrepreneurs by the age of 14. They're setting up companies from their bathroom. They're amazing musicians. They're producers. They're just doing so much stuff, and it's like, those are the rainbow children. Those are new indigo children that are coming through, that are actually being of that example. And whether you want to believe it or not, there are these huge wave of humans that are being born to raise a vibration, to be examples of light and inspiration and guidance as well. Like, why live a life doing something that you don't want to do? Why live a life that is so fake? Why? What is the point? What is the point? I can't even tell you how unbelievably up to here I am seeing women that are showing their asses all the time, that are showing their breasts all the time, that are Botoxed here, left, right, and centre, in order to make themselves feel. You don't have to. That to me, and I'm sure that many other light workers out there, you understand that you don't have to be doing that in order to make yourself have self-worth, to make yourself feel happy. In a way, yeah, sure, in a way, like, you can show yourself off a bit, but I think there's a huge level of fakeness, with that, and that goes in tangent with celebrity and this kind of Instagrammable lifestyle that people are expressing nowadays, and that's not really a sustainable lifestyle, because what's happening is that you're actually selling your soul to something that you end up getting praise for, and you have to keep. It's like an addiction. It's like alcoholism or drug addiction. You have to keep upping your game by posting all of these, seductive, gym-worthy, whatever pictures and posts in order to get the accolades from an outer source. And so that's an addiction, because again, it's a codependency. How about you start with number one? Maybe just be naked in a room on your own for a day and just see how that goes. Actually feel 100% comfortable in your current situation, however that looks like, whoever that's with. Just actually embrace who you are in your physical state, and then you end up really embracing who you are within yourself. I've been noticing, I've been on this journey where I'm basically seeing myself as an onion, and I'm just constantly like peeling every single onion from the outside in, and then it just comes in and in until I don't know, maybe once I die I'll completely understand myself and my soul. But that for me is what's being real. It's not, look, and again, I'm being real here. If you're following me on Instagram, or if I was following you on Instagram and you're not showing any real, you're unfollowed. Like I'm not about it. I'm not really about it anymore, to be honest. I can't vouch for that fake. I can't vouch for it anymore. So, next point about being real, makeup and products. So, this is a very important element, actually. Being real. So think about the kind of products you use in your hair and your daily kind of face regime and the body. And I'm talking men and women. Think about what's actually in the products. Is it against animal testing? It usually has a little bunny on it, and it says cruelty free on a product when it says, when it's against animal testing. I'm just trying to think what I've got here. So I've got this. So I use Burt's Bees, which is a fantastic product company. And you can buy it online or whatever. But this is an example of clean products. Lipstick to Burt's Bees, natural products, and they are not tested on animals, and they use natural products, the best that I can vouch for. Aveda is a fantastic company too. They're excellent. And so, yeah, that's also, about being real with. So once you're on this journey of being real and authentic, you start to think, okay, well, am I being real with what I eat? Am I being real with, what my body, my skin eats too? Because, skin is the largest organ, and we are consuming. And yes, I do dye my hair, and that is something that I'm going to be real about. Like, that's the one thing that I do that I can say is inauthentic. Yeah, I'm being real about that inauthenticity. Sure. And yeah, so makeup and products, be real about that. Really think about how you can also give back to Gaia, give back to Earth by thinking about how you're going to be upcycling, recycling those products after they're used, and the content within those products too. Because essentially, being real is actually about uplifting. It's about uplifting and uplifting your vibration too. There may be some of you watching this that you have probably no idea what I'm talking about in terms of vibration and soul contracts. Think about Einstein. Everyone knows Einstein, right? Okay. He said everything is energy. Okay. So if everything is energy, that means that we are all connected. Okay? So, yeah. Raising your vibration is you're raising your energy, you're raising your awareness to become less dense, to become less appeasing, you become less codependent, to become less toxic, to become lighter, to become clearer, to become cleaner, to become more, a filter of light, and that essentially is the highest vibration is love, and that is a numerical number. I believe it's a binaural beat, which is basically 547 or something hertz. But yeah, it's a frequency. And so what you consume is also about vibration and energy. The lowest vibration on the line, let's say it's a thermometer, the highest vibration is love, and then the lowest one is fear, and then there's guilt and fear, I think, are the lowest. Yeah, I'm sure you can Google that, or if you want, I can talk about that in another video. And then the last thing again is holidays, so events, holidays and retreats. So what does it mean to be real? Again, I'm going to kept going back and forth because I know I've been on a tangent and I've probably been speaking very, very rapidly, and it's because I'm so passionate about this thing, you know, called life, about this thing called authenticity, about this thing being real, you know. I know that I have, let's say, I'm not going to say lost, but I have filtered away people that will honestly, they just don't match. As I'm ascending vibrationally, and if they're choosing to stay in that vibration, again, it's all free will and everyone has their own soul contracts too. If they don't match me where I am, it's like 2 radio stations or 3 or 4 radio stations. I'm on like BBC Radio 2 and they're on, you know, whatever, Virgin FM. You know, you there's no communication, therefore there's no frequency connection. And so unless they or I choose to change the vibration, and that can be one either goes up in frequency or one goes down. And I, for one, I am so done with having to lower my vibration in order for another person, another individual to understand and match me where I am. And I can tell you now that this is not some kind of like condescending attitude that I have. It's more about I am continuing to raise my energy levels and my vibration so that I can open up and continue to explore and experience a wonderful life, really. Yes, it's difficult at times, of course, but you got to meet me where I am, rather. You got to meet me where I am, and I will endeavour to attempt to connect through the explanation of. But usually, when you actually match the other person, there's an understanding already because you're already on that frequency, and then you can separate and then come back together again. And you know, it's just, you know, it's like Mario, platform game. So yeah, holidays and retreats. You know, again, going onto the same holiday resort, you know, all the time may not necessarily be hugely appealing anymore. So be real about that. You know, if you always wanted to go to that trip to Bali, go and do it. You know, I was going to swear then, but like, just go and do it. Again, you can get hit by a bus tomorrow, and Bali is definitely on my agenda for sure. And that will happen. Yeah. So I hope you can. I hope you've been able to resonate with my message today. About what it is to be real, and I really hope and pray that you are on this journey with me. You're on this journey with me, raising your vibration and raising your awareness, and honestly just filtering out situations, people, places and things with love, so that you can continue on a positive self-love journey, not selfish, but self-love journey of beautiful discovery. We need more light workers on this planet. There's so much manipulation on this 3D life platform on planet Earth. There's so much manipulation. There's so much guilt and shame and negativity and nastiness, really, and abuse of power. And you'll be noticing that I forgot to mention the news on this list too. You'll be noticing that once you're on this level of ascension, which by the way will continue to happen, you don't awaken and then just like it stopped. You continue ascending. Once you're on this path of ascension, you start to realize that you start to question your education, you start to question how you've been taught, what you've been taught, the books that you've read. You start to question everything. You start to question the news, you know, and actually, you know, I'm not here to make millions and millions and millions doing this video, because I'm not really about that. I'm just here to share this message. And again, like I just so wish, there's so many people in my life that I love so dearly, that I've known for years, through my whole life cycle so far, that just they don't really get it. And it's difficult, because if I can't be real with them and having a conversation with them without them criticizing me or making me, or saying that I'm crazy in front of me or behind my back, and trust me, I do feel it. I feel stab wounds behind my back, and I know when someone is talking behind my back. It can be really lonely, you know. It can be really lonely. You know, it can be tough. It can be tough. So, but again, I do have wonderful tribe as well, and I will continue to attract and multiply my tribe as I continue to ascend through this conscious, positive vibration that I and many, many other beautiful, wonderful light workers that are living in vulnerability and realness, you know, they're doing that. They're doing the work. They're doing the work, and it's not all rainbows and, you know, unicorns and rainbows. You know, being positive doesn't mean you're a walking doormat. Like, that's not it. So, being real, being assertive, being loving, being real with your family, being real with your purpose, your job, being real with the people, places, events and things, being real with what you wear, your clothes and your dress, being real with your interests and hobbies, being real with the products that you use on your body and your skin, and the food that you eat too, being real with, you know, where you go on holiday, and being real with where you live. And ultimately, it's all about being real with you, yourself, and being real with one. Over and out.